All right, here we go. So the first part, staging. Now everything I'm going to share with you is in the PDF that is linked. So hopefully you've downloaded that. If you haven't, go ahead and just take a moment to do that, because it's going to have all the information I'm going to break down for you. All right, so first of all, what do we mean by staging? Staging is this, is you and I have to create the environment and the opportunity for us to be able to press into this. Many of us are used to those environments being created for us, the way we were educated. Maybe our parents, took us to church or Sunday school or synagogue or some type of environment where those moments were created for us to press into these things. But as we step into life, we quickly realize that those moments aren't created for me. I have to create those moments for myself if I'm really going to step into the habit of reflecting on the past, anticipating the future, and knowing where I'm at in between. So first is this, you're going to have to find the time that will let God ignite your imagination. This is the big when. When are you going to do this? You see, I believe that when you and I take the time to really reflect on these things, reflect on where we've been, anticipate where we could be, where we could go, who we could be, it gives the Lord the opportunity to ignite things within our mind and heart that this life is never going to do for us. And so you're going to have to prioritize this time. You're going to have to get out your calendar, look at your coming week or weeks, and figure out, when am I going to do this? Now, the amount of time that this takes is completely up to you. I know some people knock this stuff out in a half day just because of the way they process this sort of information. They get out of what they want to get out of it in a half day. I know other folks that turn this into a 3-4 day weekend. Some people kind of break it down into a couple hours over the course of a week. What I would encourage you to do is do it at the beginning of this year, so that when you do break this down, you kind of set up as much amount of time in front of you as possible. Now, maybe you're watching this and it's not the beginning of the year. That's totally cool and that's fine. The best time to plant an acorn was 25 years ago. The next best time is today, right? So go ahead and set yourself up for success today. But what I want you to do is don't do it in an ideal context. Actually look at your calendar, prioritize the time. When am I going to sit down with this document and kind of walk through these things? The second is this, you're going to have to be responsible for making sure that your responsibilities aren't neglected as you do this. So what are those responsibilities that you do have that are reasonable, that are going to compete against this time, and how are you going to navigate that, right? So, if I've got to be at work first, at 7 in the morning, and I'm not a morning person, probably doing this, in the morning, say, I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock might not be the best idea, but I may be able to do it at the end of the day, because that's when I'm going to have the most amount of time to sort of sit down with this. Or if I've got a long weekend, or whatever the case may be. I don't know your circumstances, but what I do know is you're going to have to navigate this around your current set of responsibilities. So be mindful of those. And look at your calendar, schedule it out if you're not in that habit of, okay, when am I going to actually do this? And then put it in the calendar. Put it on your calendar. Particularly if you live with other people who compete for your time, they want you to be at things. They want to be part of things with you. So this is very much an experience that you can do with others, but there is a significant amount of time where you're by yourself and you're navigating these thoughts and these questions alone. Now, there is a piece that I'll talk about where you set up a time with another person, but put it on your calendar so that you know that those you might have a responsibility to are aware of what you're trying to achieve in the coming days, okay? So that's the first part of this. The second part is you need to identify the location to reflect, wonder, and think. Where are you going to do this at? So once you identify the when, where? I know for some people, like, their home is their cocoon. It's a great place. They have a couch or a spot in their house where they like to sit and think, and they don't have very many distractions around, and it's a place for good creative thinking. I know other folks, if they do this at home, all they're going to see are all the things they need to get done. They're going to sit down and they're going to I should fix the cushions on the couch. I should go do the dishes. The laundry needs taken care of. I should have swept that. The cobwebs. They're going to see a million things that are going to distract them and keep them from really pressing into this. So for some, home is a great place. Cafe. I know some people like to go to a park, or I currently live near the beach, and so sometimes I see folks down on the beach doing this kind of stuff. Wherever it is for you, it's a place that needs to be as distraction free as possible. And allows you to engage in as much creative thinking as possible. So where is that? So again, the time and the place become really critical to pressing into this. Third thing is this to consider is you're going to journal this process. So you know, I've provided this PDF, but what I would encourage you to do is actually have a journal or a notebook or something that you can kind of write this process out. And I know some people like to use like a moleskin. Other people, they like having a keyboard and using Evernote or some kind of note capturing device. I know some folks like to use colored pencils or markers. They're real creative and flowery with what they do, and so they get a sketchbook. Listen, the medium doesn't matter. What matters is that you capture your thoughts so that you can track the process of your thinking. So you can see the progress. I started with this thought and it kind of morphed into this direction. That's the point, right? We're going to give you a variety of questions. And that we're going to require some thoughtful notes. And so be ready to write out those thoughts and reflections. Years ago I read a quote from Ben Franklin who said, "The palest ink is better than the sharpest mind." So the minute you find yourself thinking, "Oh, I'll remember that," great. Maybe you will, but I guarantee if you write it out, you will not be able to forget it because you have it right there, right? So take the time to journal this process. So when are you going to do this? Where does it fit within your calendar? Where are you going to do this? How are you going to go about doing this? Writing it, capturing these thoughts. And then the fourth is find somebody to do this with, right? So if you want to do this, maybe if you're married, you can do this with your spouse, or if you've got a partner or a good friend that you can kind of walk through this with and sort of find that person that can support you through this process. Now, it needs to be somebody that you can be vulnerable with, right? Somebody that you can kind of openly discuss what you're thinking, what you're wondering, what you're hoping for, in a sort of a way that is open-ended, right? It's not going to be that person that says, "Wait a minute, 5 weeks ago you said, that you were never going to, let a day go by that you didn't do the dishes." Maybe that was a random thought you had as you were processing all this information. So it's not that kind of relationship that I want to encourage you to step into. It's the person that's going to help you kind of creatively think, that's going to let you kind of process out loud what you're kind of going through. And you listen to them as well, right? You just kind of ask these questions and sort of let somebody verbally process to you what they're sharing as you process with them. So when are you going to do this? Where does it fit within your calendar? Where are you going to do this? Where's that place that will allow, for creative thinking, that will be distraction free? How are you going to capture this information? What's that note-taking device? Are you going to use a moleskin? Are you going to use a notepad of paper? Are you going to, use your computer and some kind of note-taking software? How are you going to capture this information? And then who can you do this with? Who can you walk through this information with? So I know this is the least sexy part of this training, but what I would encourage you to do is take the time to think these things through, because when you do that, you set yourself out for tremendous success because you've sort of planned to press into this. You've sort of created a guarded space for you to slow that pace of life down and for you to be able to really reflect and kind of evaluate where you're at and determine what your focus should be so that you can anticipate, the coming year. I'm excited. I'm excited for what could come of this as you step into these things. So take the time to kind of walk through these things before you move to part 2, and I'll catch you over there.